So my hard question for you is, why should I care about Vietnam at all, right?
Why should we care about Vietnam? That's a great question.
Because when I look at Vietnamese Americans, right, it's not as strong of a community, or maybe even as big of a community as the Chinese and Indian communities, which I believe are very strong, right? When you look at Sundar Pichai, he attributes a lot of his success to having this strong Indian community that supports him. And I'm not sure, I don't know, because I don't live here anymore, but I'm not sure if that exists here. So why should I, as a Vietnamese American, get distracted by Vietnam? Do you know what I mean? So you've listed a lot of things about why we should care about Vietnam, or things that people are doing that care about Vietnam. But how does it benefit me as a person who's, let's say, if I'm working in Silicon Valley, I'm barely getting my career off the ground, I barely have a company, I need to focus on what's in front of me, right? And Vietnam seems like a place that's very far away. It hasn't changed that much in some ways. It's changed in other ways, right? But it hasn't changed in certain ways that some people want, right?
Right.
And so why should I get distracted by that?
Yeah, I'll go even further and say, there is no promise that it would change in the next generation or two. I mean, your job is to assess what are the possibilities. So you're I think, rightfully critical of the so-called possibilities in Vietnam. And we know that in the U.S. or in anywhere, as in Vietnam, it's not as if you make the choice to work in Vietnam and it'll be instant success. I think for most individuals, first of all, I want to say that the Vietnamese American community is not, monolithic. We're also different. Some of us could care less about Vietnam. Some of us have more connections to Vietnam and everything in between, right? And so I think what's happened in the past in terms of connections to Vietnam is, maybe you're starting out here and jobs aren't great here, but you hear of opportunities to start in a bigger company in Vietnam or get more, like if you want to make films, for example, there's opportunities there. If you want to start in a company or work in a startup. One of my students, Leslie Doe here, went back to Vietnam for her study abroad, got into a startup company. She was so fabulous that they asked her to come back and work. So right out of school, instead of freaking out about school loans and not knowing what to do exactly or how to get into grad school, she has a paid job waiting for her in Vietnam. So so some individuals feel like there are these immediate sort of possibilities for them to break down certain doors that are maybe more difficult here because we are a new immigrant group. We do look this way. There are biases. And maybe in Vietnam there's a different set of biases, but there's also access. So in terms of caring, that's more of an individual motivation. I would even say that motivations of working in Vietnam really are diverse as well. One is for myself, right? And one is a calling. One is, this is a sense of belonging, or any number of reasons. It goes on, and it could even change your first week to month to year there. You probably experience a lot of that too.
Sure.
These are hard questions that I don't think I can or want to answer in one big swoop, but I will certainly say that because in the past, people have seen certain opportunities and also seen certain realities. I think now we're in second generation, maybe third generation of those doing business in Vietnam. And so now there's even, I work with an individual who's worked in Vietnam, and he's writing a book on how to maneuver through the cultural idiosyncrasies of Vietnam, because that's even difficult, If we think we're going to go back to Vietnam and make changes and that we're smarter than the Vietnamese, that's a really bad attitude. If you think you're going to go to Vietnam and it'll answer all your questions and find you a wife or think again, Vietnam is not the answer. Vietnam is maybe a question, right? And then we try to find answers in our own pace, in our own way.
Well, that's another segue for me. I'm sorry, I'm selfish. I have one more question. How do you, because when I look at the generations, right? When I talk to my mom, and obviously that generation, my mom's generation, they lived through the war.
Yes.
And so that coats their personality. In a way, they're hardier people. They've lived through stronger, and then we have this generation, we're all millennials, or quasi-millennial. I think I'm on the cusp of 1984, so I'm unfortunately a millennial. But,
you want to be
I don't know. But, so for us, it's like no war, opportunities, internet, and then there's also this new wave of Vietnamese, right? So I asked how many people here are Vietnamese, a lot of people here. How many people here are Vietnamese citizens? Nobody's watching, don't worry. Okay, so this is a whole lot of Vietnamese citizens now.
Absolutely.
And the last time we did this event, it was 60% Vietnamese citizens at the event. The Vietnamese citizens are almost more interested in the community. The Vietnamese Americans are almost less interested in the community because they've already defined their identity as American in some way. So, so besides what I've said, what do you think is the difference between the generations? What are their aspirations?
You have several questions going on here, and I think each generation would define its own way. But as I mentioned, historically, it looked like this. So this is not new, actually. It's just now out more, or maybe we're out more.
Out of the closet.
Yeah, people are less afraid to say I'm from Vietnam with Vietnamese. So it's safe now, right? I guess. And and this is what I noticed. And so, there's we talked a little bit about the Viet interest, but for the Vietnamese interest, I find it even on the way even more interesting that there is still that interest because they can have opportunities to stay here. What's in Vietnam for them? So Vietnam has this. I think Vietnam could possibly lose out on some great opportunities here. One is Viet Kieu, and the other is the assumption that Du Hoc-Sinh will return. And really, there needs to be more work on Vietnam. And I just spoke at the Viet Kieu conference where there's 800 individuals from all around the world. And they wanted me to give a talk about Viet Kieu and how great, all Viet Kieu love, Vietnam, Quê Hương and all this stuff. And then I was like, no, actually my talk was about Du Hoc-Sinh and Viet Kieu and how it's a lost opportunity unless Vietnam puts its money where its mouth is. Do development, do science and training. Let Viet Kieu and particularly Du Hoc-Sinh know that when they come back to Vietnam, it's not a jail sentence, but that they can still have the international networks. There's still opportunities. They can actually make an impact on Vietnam. And so the people I work with now, I would say this, I've been living and working in Vietnam for over 20 years, and I never once advise anyone, and I'm a political scientist and an economist in many ways, but I never advise investment in Vietnam. I'm like you in some ways. And however, I feel that working in Vietnam now is so different. Maybe before it would be like 5% I felt there was professionalism and efficiency. Now it's like 75%. And a lot of it is, to be honest, Du Hoc-Sinh who decided to come back, work in Vietnam, have the bicultural mentality where they understand that, hey, Vietnam can't sustain itself if we keep it the way it is. We need to make some changes. And now we can work with the Viet Kieu, we can work with the foreign investors, and we want to make this change. So it hasn't hit the critical mass in my assumption and what I observed, but I think we're getting on there. So now the question is for someone like me, do I want to invest in that, even if it takes a generation or two? And clearly, I'm here, my answer is yes. And when I talk to these individuals, their answer is yes. So what I do at Davis with Initiative is bring together these like-minded folks to keep on saying yes, yes, until something happens.